News comes first. This is ABC-7 Extra.
Good evening, I'm Saul Saenz, and this is ABC-7 Extra Sunday edition. El Pasoans are emerging from the pandemic and noticing they have to dig deeper into their wallets. Drivers are hitting the road now more than the pandemic seems to be winding down. Gasoline prices are soaring with an average of $3 a gallon in the Borderland. But that's not the only price hike El Pasoans are looking at. El Paso Water raised rates also went up. On March 1st this year, typical residents customers saw a monthly rate increase of about $1.37. But then again, water rates have been going up for the last 5 years. Then there are electricity rates. You may recall back in 2019 when El Paso Electric was negotiating with Infrastructure Investments Fund managed by J.P. Morgan Investment Management, Inc. for the proposed sale. Those against the sale sent up the red flag saying then electric bills would increase if the sale went through. The sale was approved last year. Now El Paso Electric is proposing raising rates by about $12 per month per household. The rate hike is yet to be approved by the Public Utility Commission of Texas. Now, early in the week, I reached out to El Paso Electric spokesman George De La Torre for a representative from that organization to talk to us about rising electric rates. De La Torre told me no one was available to appear on Sunday Extra at this time. But joining me to talk about current El Paso water rates is Chief Operating Officer and President of El Paso Water, John E. Ballou. Thank you for joining us, sir. Also with us is Daniel Armbruster with AAA, who track gas prices throughout the nation. Daniel works specifically in the Texas region. Thank you as well, Daniel. Gentlemen, let's get started. I'm going to start with you, Mr. Ballou. This price rate increase happened recently. It's not a stretch to believe customers may be wondering if there's another increase in the works.
Well, the answer to that question is it's possible. So we do a budget year by year. We have not started on the budget for the next fiscal year, but the reasons behind the current rate increase are replacement of infrastructure and water supply. Yeah. During the pandemic year, water consumption increased considerably, and so did our expenses. And you did correctly point out electricity is going up, gasoline is going up. Those are components of our water pricing. We are one of the largest consumers of electricity in El Paso. And so that is needed. The electricity is a critical part of the ability to move water to our customers.
So what you're saying is it's cause and effect. If electricity is higher, if gasoline is higher, it'll affect water rates.
That's part of the effect. But part of it is that we have to replace a lot of infrastructure. Much of the underground infrastructure in this town was put in the 70s in a post-World War II boom. And now all that needs to be replaced. So we have pipelines and reservoirs that need to be replaced. In addition to that, the state of Texas, in fact, the governor just recently signed a bill requiring water utilities to be able to operate and produce water without any electricity from the grid. So that's something else that we're going to have to look at as well.
Got it. Speaking of gas prices, Daniel, what is the outlook for gas prices in the coming days? I know that now that people have emerged from their homes being locked up, they're traveling more. What's the outlook?
Well, here at AAA, we've seen fluctuations in gas prices, not only here in Texas, but across the nation. And so certainly with more people getting the COVID-19 vaccine and the rollout continuing, we anticipate that there will be more people driving. And so demand for gasoline will continue to increase as we get into the summer, and likely we'll see prices go up with that demand.
Do you see spikes? Did we see a spike recently for Memorial Day? Will we see a spike during Father's Day? What sort of spikes are we talking about?
You know, sometimes we do see spikes right ahead of those big holidays where we see a lot of people traveling, taking road trips. But certainly, you know, when it comes to the prices going up, this started actually back in January, and it's only continued. Certainly the winter storm we saw in February did not help. We saw a lot of gas stations having to increase prices and some gas stations running short on fuel. And then, of course, we had the Colonial Pipeline attack. It didn't really have as much of an impact on Texas prices as it did in other areas of the country, but it certainly didn't help.
You mentioned that there's one thing that does impact, and we really never think about hurricane season here in El Paso because we obviously were so far away from the coast. But could that hurricane season and some hurricanes hitting the coast, could that affect prices for us over here in El Paso?
Certainly. There's refineries, of course, along the Gulf Coast. And if those refineries were to be impacted by a major hurricane, that would typically cause gas prices to spike at least for a few weeks. They typically do come back down after a few weeks, but we certainly, a major hurricane could have the impact on prices to send them even higher than where they're already at. But something you have to remember is right now the price in El Paso, the average price at least, is at $3.04. It was just a little under 3 years ago. The price was at $3.12. So it's certainly this isn't a price that hasn't been seen, but it's a price that certainly a lot of drivers will notice when they're filling up.
Yeah, it's a price that may not be seen just yet, but it's a price I can assure you we don't want to see. We're going to take a really quick break, but you're watching ABC-7 Extra. When we come back, I'll ask what the outlook is for gas prices in the next few months. Plus, I'll ask why water rate increases are needed, and we just got a hint of exactly why. Before we go to break, we asked El Pasoans about rising costs and what they believe will impact their family the most. You're watching ABC-7 Extra, where news comes first.
I think they raise them every year, and you kind of expect that there's going to be some increase. But right now with a pandemic, I really think they should. I don't see, with so many people hurting that's a good idea, because a lot of us are, we're living on, we're budgeting right now.
It's not good because the situation in this time is very, very special for the situation and the COVID-19, and I don't think so. For me, it's not good.
The summer vibes have arrived at Casa Kia.
Soak in the savings with incredible offers on any new Kia.
With our exceptional service, you can kick back, relax, and enjoy your new ride.
We've got 2021 Kia K5s with 0% APR for 60 months.
And we want your trade. Come see us today for max value on your trade-in when you trade up. Start your summer off right at Casa Kia.
Or online at casakia.com.
Our Casa is to Casa, here at Casa Kia.
It's all for Dad at Academy Sports and Outdoors this weekend. Get up to 30% off Adidas footwear. Buy a reel, get a rod, 20% off, and up to $100 off grills. Don't miss these great savings. Shop Father's Day only at Academy.
Look at that. 5 glorious inches of Whataburger. Fresh 100% beef stacked high with melted cheese and fresh cut veggies. But what if it's too much fresh beef? Stacked too high with too much melted cheese and too many fresh cut veggies? Well, we have a 4-inch burger like a lot of other places. We just call it a junior. Good thing there's a burger made just for you. Good thing there's Whataburger.
At our dealership, we've been in business for 1 billion years, and we're here for you.
Cut! Alex, that's not how we do it.
You're right. That's not who we are. At Bravo Chevrolet, we're about culture, fun, and the experience. Plus, you get 0 down, 0 payments for 90 days, and oil changes for life. And you don't have to call me or track me down. Just come on in. And the best news is that we do have cars. Who are we? Bravo!
How Police Solved the Murder of Gloria Marmolejo is the subject of Stephanie Valle's latest Borderland Crimes podcast. Find it on iTunes, Google Play, or scan the QR code on your screen now to download it from kvia.com.
Welcome back to ABC-7 Extra. Joining us again is John Ballou, President and CEO with El Paso Water, and Daniel Armbruster with AAA, who track gas prices throughout the nation. Daniel works specifically in the Texas region. Once again, we did reach out to El Paso Electric to participate in tonight's conversation, but they tell me that no one was available. Once again, Mr. Ballou, I will start with you. Let's talk about that infrastructure that you mentioned earlier in the program. How long do you anticipate everything that needs to be replaced will be replaced?
Well, it'll take many years. We can't do everything in 1 year simply because of the way the system operates. So we have to schedule it out over a period of years. So maybe 1 or 2 tanks during the course of the year will be replaced, along with several miles of pipe and perhaps a pump station. And also we're doing water supply projects. We have our enhanced aquifer storage project, and we're expanding the desal plan as well to make sure that we have water supplies for the future of El Paso.
Yeah. So do we have a cost associated with all the repairs that you need to do? I want to give our viewers an idea of all the work that you have to do and, of course, justify the price hikes. Do you have a cost connected to all the work that needs to happen?
Well, yes. So in a normal year, we need to spend $120 million a year at minimum on replacement of infrastructure. And I know that seems like a lot of money, but we have a huge amount of underground infrastructure in the ground that does need to be replaced.
Recently, the city of El Paso went from manning or managing swimming pools to water parks. Does that affect the amount of water that's used? That folks say, hey, look, maybe we're paying because we went from pools to water parks. Does that affect it at all?
No, it's not a significant amount of water that's being used in those water parks. The vast majority of water that's used in El Paso is used by single-family residential homes.
By watering the lawns is what you're referring to.
And indoor water use. So about half of the water that's used is for outdoor water use, half of it for indoor water use.
Yeah. Would you say that if perhaps El Pasoans scaled back on that water use, they would save some money, or do we just see a spike during the summer months because it's so hot and everyone wants a green lawn?
Well, I think that everyone has the opportunity to reduce water savings. In fact, in any given month, there's 30,000 El Paso customers, that's our El Paso Water Utility customers, that actually save money, about $11.82 a month, if they reduce their water consumption to below 400 cubic feet during the course of the month. And that allows people to actually save money. So yes, reducing water consumption will save money on your water bill.
And how is it that El Pasoans can gauge that water use? Because, everything you just told me sounds technical, it makes sense. However, how can El Pasoans say, all right, maybe I should use this amount of water? How can they gauge that?
So one of the things that I would suggest is to look at our website, and we have a number of very helpful videos that show you how to read your own water meter. And so you can look at your water meter and then do different things in your home, water the yard, do laundry, that sort of thing, and look at the water meter and see how much each one of those things actually uses in terms of water.
Got it. Daniel, let's go back to talking about gas prices. Is the forecast for gas prices to continue going up throughout the summer months, and will they decrease as soon as we get into the winter months?
That's a great question. So when we look at gas prices, or what makes up what we pay at the pump, the vast majority of it is going to be the cost of crude oil. And today, crude oil is sitting around $70 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate last week broke a 2.5-year high. So certainly it's only expected to go up as more people are traveling. And so, yes, as we go through the summer, it's expected the gas prices will continue to fluctuate, if not get higher. And so drivers should prepare and plan if they're planning to take a road trip or a vacation, certainly to think about the higher fuel costs. We have a gas calculator you can use on AAA.com to help with that. But certainly, whether it's going to be the cost of oil, of course, there's also local taxes and fees that go on top of what you pay at the pump. But in El Paso, which has the highest gas price average of any metro in the state of Texas right now, certainly there's distribution costs that go into that as well.
I just asked for some tips on how we can save on water rates, but what is it? Can you give our viewers some tips on how they can save on gas consumption?
Yeah, there's some really simple tips that all drivers can do to save on gas. That, of course, includes having properly inflated tires. That if your tires are underinflated, it's not only dangerous because you could have a blowout, but also it takes away from your fuel economy. Certainly, it might be hard to do in El Paso, but if you can ease off the air conditioner a little bit, that can help lightening the load, taking any extra items out of your vehicle, things like that. Avoiding quick accelerations as well can go a long way to saving on fuel. And then, of course, if you have errands or you need to run errands, try to bunch those together. If you have two vehicles, use the one that's more fuel efficient. And things like that can save on gas, and every little bit does add up.
Perfect. I'm sure our viewers appreciate that. We're going to take another quick break. You're watching ABC-7 Extra. Still ahead, I'll ask my guests what impact COVID-19 had on gas prices and water rates, or at least El Paso water. Before we go to break, we asked El Pasoans about rising costs and what they believe will impact their family most. Remember, many of us stayed home and either used more water or less gas. We'll be right back.
I think that's the state of our overall economy. So since Biden took over, the economy has really been doing poorly. And a lot of it has been due to the financial decisions based on the new government. And so part of that is also COVID restrictions. I think we're all recovering from COVID.
I'm on fixed income, so I don't feel too good about it.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit, as high as it is. And then the pandemic, people can't pay their rent. How can they expect you? I had, what, $13 more a month? So I just don't agree with it.
The Borderland is strongest when we support each other. That's what Borderland Local Links is all about. Connect with your favorite restaurants, check out activities your family can enjoy, preview upcoming sports and entertainment events. It's all right at your fingertips. Just go to kvia.com and click on local links right there at the top of the page, or scan the QR code on the screen with your phone. Borderland Local Links, supporting local business, connecting you to things that make life better.
At Oscar Leasers Hyundai of El Paso, we have inventory today. Fuel-efficient cars like Elantra and Sonata, we have them available today. Full-sized SUVs like Santa Fe and Palisade, we have them available today. Popular crossovers like Kona and Tucson, we have them available today. Many with 0% APR for 60 months. That's no interest for 60 months. Or 0 down. That's 0 cash out of pocket on any new Hyundai in stock. Or get no payments for 90 days. Shop today at Oscar Leasers Hyundai of El Paso.
Delicious pizza on dough made fresh daily. New and classic games everyone loves. The post-match celebration. They're all made to be shared. Like our tasty 2 for $22 deal. Get 2 large, 1-topping handcrafted pizzas for just $22. Peter Piper Pizza. Pizza made fresh, families made happy.
ABC-7 has always been the Borderlands news and information innovator. The first El Paso station with a website. The area's first morning newscast. In-depth issues discussions on ABC-7 Extra. And now, El Paso native Saul Saenz joins Eric Elkin and Stephanie Valle on ABC-7 at 10. Extra context. Extra depth. Extra perspective. Eric, Stephanie, and Saul. Only on ABC-7 at 10.
Welcome back to ABC-7 Extra. I also want to welcome back Chief Operating Officer and President of El Paso Water, John E. Ballou, and Daniel Armbruster with AAA, who track gas prices throughout the nation. This time I'm going to start with you, Daniel. Let's talk about COVID-19. As you well know, a lot of people were not driving around. They weren't out going out and about, and gas prices were pretty low. Would it be safe to say that because of COVID-19, now that people are out there, gas prices will continue to soar?
Definitely. And, the statewide average in Texas got down to $1.47 at the peak of the stay-at-home orders during COVID-19. Of course, now it's nowhere near that. The statewide average is around $2.76 today. El Paso is at $3.12. So certainly that is a big difference. And when demand for gasoline plummeted, not only here in Texas, but across the country and around the world, gas prices and oil prices came down. And certainly our gas prices that we pay at the pump aren't just impacted by what we do here in Texas or what happens in the United States, but this is all based on the global markets as well. And certainly crude oil makes up most of what we pay at the pump.
Did COVID-19 have an impact on crude oil production as well as gas refineries?
We saw crude oil on the global scale plummet during the COVID-19 pandemic. Certainly, there were outbreaks in countries like India, Brazil. Those countries consume a lot of oil too, and so China as well. And so certainly that had an impact. And so now that those countries are starting to rebound, or most of the larger countries around the world are starting to see a rebound, especially here in the United States. Demand for gasoline is climbing. It's climbing fast. It's not back to pre-pandemic levels yet, but most market analysts anticipate that will happen before the end of this year.
Mr. Ballou, what impact did COVID-19 have on El Paso Water?
Oh, we had a difficult time with our workforce. We had to be at work every day during the course of the pandemic. And also, the governor's orders did not allow us to do any disconnections during the course of the pandemic. So there were many customers that were impacted by loss of job or loss of income who were unable to pay their bills. And so we received some financial assistance, maybe $1 million or so financial assistance. But we're still down about $7 million of money, of revenue that the water was consumed, but we weren't paid for. So we're trying to work with all those customers to make sure that that they have adequate time but can pay off that amount and continue to receive water service.
We've been talking a lot about the infrastructure, both during the first segment and the second segment, and all the work that you all had to do. Did COVID-19 have an impact on all that work on infrastructure that you all had to do? Did it push it back on your timeline?
In some cases. We had difficulty obtaining machinery. We had some close calls with our normal commodities that we buy, but for the most part, service did not suffer. But we did have to extend times on multiple contracts, and we're seeing now coming forward into the future cost increases in your normal construction material, the PVC pipe that we use, steel and concrete, those sorts of things.
So in other words, if you all have to pay more, obviously somebody has to pay for all this.
Right.
So if you were to have another hike, what do you imagine, or at least forecast, that hike would be?
Well, we can't really forecast. We'll know later in the year. So probably like in the November, December timeframe, we'll have an idea of what that rate increase will look like. The Public Service Board will, if according to schedule, approve the budget in January. So that's when it will be publicly available.
Okay. I hate to push the issue, but will it be as high as $1.37, or do you think it might be lower?
Well, I would hesitate to speculate at this point, Louis. We've got to get all the expenses and determine the impact of all these things that you mentioned. Remember, there's a lag in the pandemic effects. So customers are coming out of the effects, getting back into the job market. They're able to pay their bills. But by the same token, water consumption, if it goes back down to normal levels, then that will offset those potential need for expenses. So everything really depends upon water consumption.
Got it.
Water consumption goes up, then we have to accelerate our programs. If water consumption goes down, then we don't.
And we were talking about the pandemic, COVID-19. As people were staying at home more, did the water usage go up?
Yes, it went up considerably.
Because of washing dishes and washing clothes and all that, I imagine?
I imagine. It's kind of strange, but also I think they just stayed home and took care of their gardening needs and that sort of thing, and so they ended up using more water.
Daniel, what would it take for gas prices to come down? What needs to happen?
Well, it would take an event that would cause demand to go down. Certainly, the pandemic caused demand for gasoline to plummet. So it would have to be consumption demand decrease. And at this point, there's really nothing on the radar that points to that. Everything's pointing to higher prices.
So you think we could hit $4 per gallon?
I don't want to say that. I certainly.
I don't want you to say that either, but we're trying to find out if that can happen.
Look, if it's anything's possible. We saw that in 2020, but at this point, $4 a gallon is not expected. Certainly be mindful of hurricane season. Watch West Texas Intermediates prices on the market. Like I said, crude oil, $70 a barrel. We haven't seen prices like that in 2.5 years. So, and the consumer price index that came out last week pointed to a 5% increase in retail prices in May. There's concerns about inflation. So there's a lot of potential for prices to at least fluctuate, if not continue to trend upward.
All right, Daniel and Mr. John Ballou, thank you so much for taking time to talk to us. I appreciate you sharing all the information and information that our viewers can use on Sunday at ABC-7 Extra. Thanks again.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. I'm Saul Saenz, and this has been ABC-7 Extra. Good night y buenas noches.